How you doing? How are you? This is Lerone Kuntz. Just a little update on Diddy. He did not get bail today. The judge denied him bail, which means that he will stay in jail until the judge decides to give him bail, if the judge decides to give him bail. Now, what's going to happen to him now that he's in custody? What is his life going to be like? I can answer that question because I was a correction officer and I wrote the book about Correction Officer's Guide to Understanding Inmates, the 44 Keys to Power, Control, and Respect. So I have the background to answer that question. And I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, and Bedford-Stuyvesant. So I'm very familiar with the area, and I didn't work in the federal correctional system. I worked in the city correctional system. But I know people that worked in the federal or work in the federal system, and it's pretty much the same in terms of what his experience is going to be like. So he got arrested last night. So last night, I think that they probably assigned him, a housing area, a cell, a bed. So this morning he had to go to court. So they got him up, got dressed, got on correction transportation, got on the bus. And they probably had special transportation for him because he is what we consider notorious, meaning that he has a lot of notoriety. Everybody knows who he is, so he'll be isolated from the other inmates. And so he wouldn't be on the bus with all the other inmates going to court. No, they would have him on a separate transportation detail. They would have special escorts to take him back and forth to court, but he would still have to go through the searches and stuff like that. Jail is very demeaning if you're an inmate, right? Because when you come into the facility, like say Sean Puffy came in last night because they arrested him. He has to go through a search. They have to bring him into the receiving room. They have to make him take all his clothes off. They have to search his clothes, search him, make him run his fingers through his hair, open your mouth, turn around, squat, cough, all of that. That's, it's traumatic. There's no other way to say it. And they send you to the housing area, and then you're in a room that you've never been in before, and it's just one bed there for you, and the bed is a twin-size bed. He's probably used to sleeping in king-size beds with all the comforters and pillows and a television set, and he doesn't have that now. He's in a cell, and his cell is no better than any other cell that's in there. So if the cells are run down, his cell is run down too. They're not going to put him in a special suite or anything like that. He's going to get what everybody else gets. And so today, this morning, he had breakfast. They woke him up. Usually when an inmate has to go to court, we wake them up around 4 in the morning, 4:30, because they have to be sent to the receiving room. They have to eat first, and then they have to be sent to the receiving room. They have to be searched, and then they have to be cuffed and taken, to transportation. The cuffs are usually cuffed at the arm with a waist chain on. So being that he's going to be traveling by himself, he's going to be cuffed, and they're going to have a waist chain on him so he can't move his arms too far. So his the chain is going to be around his waist. Sometimes it's a belt, sometimes it's a chain, and he's going to have leg irons. So he's not going to be able to run or anything like that. And then they're going to take him to the court, and then they're going to turn him over to the courts there, and then they're going to take everything off, and they're going to search him again. Most of the time they will search you again, and then they put you in the cell and wait for the judge to call you up to the courtroom when they're ready for him. So he had to go through that. He had to sit in court all day. And now that he is not getting bail, he has to go everything in reverse. Now he has to go back to the holding area in the courthouse, wait for transportation to come pick him up, escort him back to the jail, go back through the receiving room of the jail, get strip searched again, and then be taken to his housing area. So he probably gets to his housing area late, and being that he probably missed chow, they'll have a tray for him, and he'll eat the jail food like any other inmate. And that is his day. That is his life now. You know, they'll put him in a cell. I almost can guarantee he's in a cell by himself. They wouldn't put him in a cell with anybody else because he's notorious. He's probably in the housing area that is what we call administrative segregation. You know, there's different types of housing areas. There's general population, which is GP. They call it GP is general population. So if you don't have any type of classifications that will prevent you from being with other inmates, then you'll go in the general population. Most inmates, you know, they like to be in general population. But if you have problems with other inmates and you are a security risk of you being hurt, then they'll put you in protective custody, which is PC. And sometimes inmates can request that. If they have problems with other inmates, they can request that, hey, I would like to be in PC, which is more restrictive. You know, you don't have access to everybody, you know, all the other inmates in the jail. You're not going to the yard and to the gym with all the other inmates. You're going with the inmates that are in protective custody. And so it's a smaller group, so you don't get to see, you know, new faces every day. You're pretty much with the same people. Sean Puffy Combs would not be in PC. He wouldn't be in protective custody. He would be in what they call administrative segregation. That's when the administration of the jail wants to isolate you from the other inmates, keep you in an area that's away from most inmates, because being that he's notorious, he has the potential to turn the jail upside down. Being that he's there, it can cause problems with the smooth running of the facility. You know, he could affect the way the facility functions just by him being there. So you don't want to have him just exposed, and you also don't want him to get hurt while he's in your custody. If you're an administrator of a facility, the worst thing that could happen is that something happens to him, and you're held responsible for that. So to prevent all of those things from happening, he will be isolated in administrative segregation. Doesn't mean, it's not like punitive segregation, where, you know, it's because you violated some rules and things like that, and now you are on 23-hour lockdown. You have 1 hour recreation, and, you know, your phones calls are restricted, your showers are restricted. You have a lot of restrictions when you're on punitive segregation. But administrative segregation, you don't have a lot of restrictions. It's just that you are not in general population, and your movement is going to be restricted. So he'll be in a housing area with other inmates that also are on administrative segregation. So he will be moving with a small group of people. You know, he'll be eating with them and going to yard with them or the gym with them, and visits. You know, everything will be kind of isolated for him and the people that are in administrative segregation. You know, so he'll get an hour's rec a day, because every inmate in the facility gets, in the jail system in America, gets an hour rec every day. So he'll get that. He'll get everything he's supposed to get, but he'll be in administrative segregation. So last night when he came in, most likely he was evaluated by the medical staff as well as the mental health staff. So, because they want to evaluate him to see where his mental state is and see if he has any intentions of harming himself. So he will have to talk to a psychiatrist, and they will definitely talk to him, because psychiatrists are like anybody else. They want to have that on their resume, like, yeah, I evaluated Sean P. Diddy Combs, you know, when he came to the Brooklyn Correctional Facility, I was there. And, you know, if they They might write a paper about it, who knows? But they always want to interview the very notorious inmates for whatever reason. The psychiatry department, they're on top of it. So they're going to evaluate him as to whether or not he is in the state of mind where he wants to hurt himself. Do I think that he would do something to himself? I I would probably lean towards the side that he probably would do something to himself. I would go in with that presumption that he would hurt himself, just to be on the safe side. Being that when he did his apology to Cassie about the incident when it became public, he said that he had to go to therapy. He said that he had to go to rehab and he was at rock bottom. And this was just not too long ago. So he has a history, therapy history. There's nothing wrong with that. If you need that, that's fine. But I'm sure they want to ask him about that. Like, what is your therapist saying? And they might want to reach out to the therapist to see where his mental state is. But in the interim, they would probably put him on suicide watch. They would issue a watch on him just in case. Even if he said everything correctly, they ask you a lot of questions, and these psychiatrists are very skilled. They know their job very well. They know how to detect things. Even if you're trying to hide things, they can figure out where you're at mentally. So you can't really hide how you feel from them, not for any length of time. But being that they just probably evaluated him last night, they probably said, let's just be on the safe side and just put him on a watch sheet. That means that he is supposed to be watched. Probably in his case, it'd probably be every 15 minutes. So that means that the officers that are assigned to that housing area, part of their responsibilities will be to make entries into a sheet that's called the watch sheet, and it'll be broken down into 15-minute intervals, and they would have to enter every 15 minutes where the inmate is, where Sean is, and what he's doing. So today it's 12 o'clock, so you would say inmate is in the day room watching television, or the inmate is in his cell sitting on his bed, or he's in the corridor talking to the other inmates, or he's meeting with medical staff or whatever, or he's, whatever he's doing, you would make that entry. The main thing that an officer has to do is make visual contact with him, not to just fill out the 15-minute watch, not knowing where the inmate is and saying, oh, he's here, so I'm just going to say that I'm not going to get out my chair and go look for him. Every 15 minutes, you have to visually see what he's doing. That is the job, okay? And it's not hard, it's not a lot of places inmates can be in a housing area. And, usually a new person like him, they won't be out and about. They'll be staying close to their cell. They'll probably be sitting in the cell. So you just, take a peek in the cell and then just fill it out. As you're doing your tours anyway, you're walking down the corridor, looking around and, doing your security inspections and things. So you just, every 15 minutes, you just check him out and say, yo, you might want to kick it with him. Say, yo, how you doing? Everything is all right? Let him know, hey, I'm here, man. If you want to kick it with me, cool, And try to develop some sort of rapport so it'll make your life easier. So, because you're going to have to watch him every 15 minutes. So, might as well, be able to communicate with one another. He's going to be seeing you every 15 minutes. He's going to be like, yo, the CEO's coming to my door every 15 minutes, so it's only natural to like try to kick it with them, or they'll be trying to kick it with you, asking you questions. Probably it'll be more like that, where he's new to this and he probably has a lot of questions, so that would be the person he asks. Now, in his situation, from the administration's point of view, from the warden's point of view, he would probably assign an officer just to watch him, one-to-one, that this is your assignment, just watch him. Don't worry about anybody else. That is your number one concern. And I've been on those assignments plenty of times. I was one-on-one with Victor Gigante, the head of the Genovese crime family, when he was in jail in Brooklyn. I've been one-on-one with mass murderers and arsonists. The guy who committed the Happy Land fire in the Bronx, that killed 87 people. I was one-on-one with him. So I've had this experience numerous times where I've been assigned to one inmate to watch. And that way the administration is sure that nothing's going to happen to him, that they won't have any type of embarrassment. You know, if he gets slashed or he gets beat up, it's going to bring negative attention to the jail, and no administrator wants that. So he will be watched. Now, will he be happy about where he is? No, he's not. A guy like him who's used to living in mansions and living in the finest hotels now is in a room with bars and one bed with a mattress that is about that thick, and one pillow and two sheets. That's it, and a pillowcase and a blanket. It's summertime, so you don't need a blanket now, but in terms of blankets, they make him get as many blankets as they need to keep warm. That's the rule. You can have as many blankets as you need to keep warm. So, but as far as the other sheets, you get two bed sheets, and then you get a pillow and you get a pillowcase, and that's it. No, no television, no remote, no cable, none of that. So he would have to go into the day room with everybody else to watch television. And then lockdown is usually, I don't know what it is in that facility, but it's usually like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So he would have to go in his cell and probably get out around 6 o'clock, or no, being that he doesn't go to court, he'll probably be locking out around 8 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, that's what will be his life for now. That will be Sean Puffy Combs' life for now. If anything changes, I guess I'll come here and kick it with y'all. But for now, and until his next bail hearing, he ain't going nowhere. He's going to get acclimated to jail. He's going to get acclimated to the smell of jail. He's going to get acclimated to being searched regularly. He's going to be challenged. Like, a person like him is not used to being challenged. You know what I mean? Like, he does what he wants to do when he wants to do it, and people answer to him. Now everything is turned on his head. Everything is reversed. When you're walking down the corridor, officer's going to be like, hey, where you going? Come here. Where you going? All right, where's your escort? Oh, stay right here. Let me just make sure that, everything is kosher. Like, it's constantly. They're going to be coming in your cell, your lights are going to be on, pretty much. There might be a little night light on, but it's never going to be dark like at your house. Jail is traumatic, and that's why I don't understand why people commit crimes. People commit silly, stupid crimes, and they wind up in jail, and jail is like a horrible place, especially for somebody who has something to lose. If you're homeless and you don't have a bed and things like that, then I can understand, okay. I had guys like that who would just come to jail, especially in the wintertime, because they didn't have a place to stay. They didn't want to be out in the cold, so they would commit, crimes that would keep them in jail for a few months. And, that made sense to me. Instead of being out on the street and it's like 12 degrees outside, come on in, get a hot meal, get a bed, But if a person has that already, why would you commit a crime to come to jail? And guys, it always flipped me out. It's like, if you like women, I'm just gonna keep it real. If you like women, why would you ever want to come to jail if you could avoid it at all? Because you're not gonna be with any women in jail. You're not gonna be sleeping next to a woman in jail. Believe me, you will not. That is not gonna happen. Not even if you're Puffy Combs, you're not gonna get that type of treatment. All right. So why would you even want to do that? He finds himself in this position now, and see, that is the thing. When reality hits, that's the thing that makes a person want to do something to themselves, because all they have now is time to think about what they did and what they're giving up, and was it really worth it? Were your freak offs really worth this, man? For you to be in a cell 6 by 10 or whatever the size of the cell is, bars instead of windows, walls. It's just bars, man. Anybody can look in and see what you're doing at any time. You have no privacy. Not even when you go to the bathroom, you don't have privacy. It's just a brick wall that's about this high and a toilet that doesn't even have a toilet seat. And you're sitting on there doing your business, and oh man, come on, fellas. If you don't have to go to jail, man, don't go to jail. Don't do it, man. It ain't worth it. You know. So, yeah, that's his life now. That's his life. It's crazy, stupid. I don't get it, especially with rich people. Why you gonna play this game? You ain't gonna win. Don't be a gangster. Don't try to be a gangster. It ain't gonna work for you. But I'll be back kicking with you if something else go down. And thanks again for coming by and checking me out. And until next time, as always, peace and stay safe.